Well, we are back and we are going to be talking about Aizen's full kit leak slash breakdown. So at the top of the video, I do just want to say that I am getting a bit of this information from a fellow YouTuber named Simbozz. That is Simbozz. Check out their video on YouTube where they have all of the information as well. I'll be using a sort of graphic I whipped up, just a quick thing to sort of display the information in a more, I don't know, visually, I guess, like visually poppy way, but the information of course does come from them. As for the validity of the information, I cannot vouch for it. This could all change in game. This could all be perfectly real. This could all be some mix of the two options, right? As for where we are and Aizen's release, I do just want to finish off by saying it does put free-to-play players in an interesting position, because I was saving my standard tickets. If Aizen comes next, I will probably be pulling for him. What I would say is that one of the best things you could probably do is set a limit for yourself. So obviously pity is 80 pity, right? Arguably it is 120 if you want to get weapon. What you should maybe start doing on characters who are less valuable, like maybe Gin. Gin is probably going to be a less valuable character overall than someone like Aizen, is you just hedge. So it is 80 gotcha pulls to get the character 100% of the time. In the case of my weapon here, I have 20 out of 40. These are all the free-to-play tickets that we've gotten. I have not spent a single Jade on limited stamp gotcha tickets. But you can see I'm not pulling this because I'm hedging my bets. I could press this button right here 2 more times and I would obviously pity the weapon. But because I am only putting the free-to-play resources that we get from the game, things like, you know, these advanced tickets and the actual pulls that we're getting from the events, I have actually not put anything in here. So if Aizen's weapon ends up being broken, which I will know as a global player because the SEA players will have gotten that information already by the time I wake up and decided to pull, I can know, oh, I should put 20 more into Hitsugaya and get his weapon, which is really good for the crit rate. Or maybe you didn't put on Hitsugaya at all. You could be like, oh well, I've spent 40 pulls, 50 pulls on Hitsugaya, I'm gonna go in for 30 more and get him, right? So hedging your bets in a game with pity is a really strong, and I would suggest you do it. It essentially means that at any point I could have gotten Hitsugaya's limited stamp, which is very powerful, or I could go in on Aizen's, which is coming up and is going to probably be really powerful. If this character is anything to go on Tosen's, Aizen's could be insane, because Aizen looks like a character who, much like Tosen, is going to be doing a lot of the damage for Spirit. I expect that team to look amazing. So let us switch over and take a look at what Aizen is actually doing. If you do not want to be spoiled on the kit, possibly, then do not watch any further. Thanks for watching if that's the case. Let's go. So here is the actual kit. I will not hide anything. You can just see what it is. And let's get a paintbrush here so we can get some colors working. So Spirit seems to be right. I mean, that seemed to be obvious. Tactics is one that was unconfirmed and seems to be confirmed, quote unquote, by the leaks, if these are true. Field skill, Kyoka Suigetsu, we'll start with that. Increases soul system damage dealt by all 30%. Now, soul system is not a tag we've seen, I believe. What that could allude to is soul society. Maybe he buffs Shinigami, or spirit team. Maybe he's strictly buffing spirit units. Maybe soul and spirit, as far as the translation goes, is the same thing. And maybe system could allude to team, but we will not know. If someone has better information on that translation, have you seen anything that translates as soul system on other characters? Maybe Tosen, who is a character that buffs, wants rather strictly thrust characters on his team so that he can quickly stack his battlefield skill. He records all damage by CC, or all damage and CC from Soul System units. So again, Soul System units. That could either be Shinigami maybe, or Spirit Team. From all Soul System units for 15 seconds. While active, allies gain Super Armor and Reiatsu reduction. Shattered Illusion, after 10 seconds, you can shatter the recording up to 300% and double CC. Which sounds incredibly strong. Let's take a look at his battlefield skills here, since we just talked about his field skill. So his enhanced Kotohitsuji, which is also his ultimate here, it ignores defense and always crits with his talents. Extra Ravage, and we'll see Ravage over here if you want to take a quick look. Extra Ravage, shield, and counterattack. Auto triggers while Kyoka Suigetsu is active. That is his field skill. Passive buffs, spirit damage and team-wide crit rate. So again, spirit damage comes up, not exactly Soul System, but still. Team-wide crit rate is going to be what sets this character apart from every other character currently in the game. Crit rate is huge. If you are playing Toshido, if you are playing these other characters, you realize how sparse crit rate can be. And more than that, you realize that, oh, I'm missing Toshido's weapon. Well, that's 30% crit rate I'm missing. Well, maybe Aizen can fill that in if you don't decide to pull his weapon, right? So a crit rate buffing support who's also buffing spirit damage. Illusion stacking boosts crit damage at max. So this is now we have a crit rate buffer who's also boosting crit damage like Urahara. What did I say in one of my recent videos? I said the support characters, the tactics characters are going to be the ones who matter the most. They are going to be the ones who matter more than every DPS. Not because DPS characters aren't hyped, not because DPS characters aren't useful, not because DPS characters aren't unique, but because in PvE gacha, typically what is power crept first is DPS. And you can see it here. Aizen is immediately showing you could probably, based on what is being said, because we don't know what Soul System means. If it just means Shinigami, then Urahara should count, which means that Aizen plus Urahara are working intrinsically together because he's boosting crit damage, and then Urahara is giving that crit damage to your DPS, like essentially going, I assume it's a multiplicative buff, but essentially doubling down on his recurring like crit damage boost, right? And then Ravage reduces enemy resistance, which is going to be very strong with this. If you know anything about PvE games particularly, or the PvE in these types of games particularly, any sort of defense lower or just sort of ignoring of defense is usually pretty strong for the DPS. Combat skill, Deep Hypnosis, this is up here. Hypnotize enemies around him. Enemies attack each other, 30% damage taken. This is plus 30% damage taken. Normal attacks change after Kyoka Suigetsu, which again is the field skill here. Alright, so imagine maybe his flurry of attacks that he does in the current Frenzy Feast. Could be, right? And his ultimate skill, Kudohitsuji, is AoE damage 2,375%, which is pretty high, I would say. We don't know what his weapon will be. His weapon could just be something that buffs this, kind of like Tosen's, like I said. This is what a lot of characters are doing with their current ult, like their upper limit. I think outside of a character like Toshido, who's doing a bit more, Gin, who's supposed to be doing a bit more, reduces target's max Reiatsu by 30%. So this is going to be a character who innately helps you put enemies in the broken state, which makes them do more damage, and then triggers battlefield skill buffs and illusion stack. So you're triggering the shattered illusion here, and you're also triggering the actual buffs here, and probably here, I imagine. So that is pretty good. That is pretty good. Overall, Aizen is looking like a threat. If you were to ask me, like, who should you be pulling for? Who's the one? Who's like the... Why is my Oh my god. Why is my capture not working for 1 second? There we go. If you were to ask me if you should be saving for, you know, saving for Aizen, saving for Gin, saving for Kenpachi, again, and I always say it, you're going to come to a point where you're going to have your main DPSs sorted. You're going to have your DPS characters sorted. And you're just going to want to actually start investing in these support characters who are generally just elevating those characters more and more. Sadly, what this has ended up making me do is that I might end up spending these tickets on the standard character banner just for the chance at pulling Ikaku, because maybe Gin is a character I'm no longer looking to get if I'm pulling on Aizen, because Kenpachi is still on the horizon and I do want Kenpachi most of any character essentially. So that could be a decision I need to make. That might be a decision I need to square. But yeah, Gin does look much better than Ikaku, by the way, so it's not even like it's close. But just to avoid having to spend my extra Jade, my extra limited time tickets, because I am free to play, that might be a decision I need to make. But I hope this was illuminating. I hope this was a fun little talk. If you want to again see all of the current leaks, you can see them here. But with that being said, like if you like the video, subscribe to join the club. We'll go make it, and peace.